Rottweiler Vlogs, episode 128. Mizzo and Mack out here in Carson, California with my man Gerald from European Doberman Studs. This is a dope episode. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And as always, enjoy the video.
Well, my name is Gerald. I'm the owner of European Doberman Studs. I got into the Doberman breed because of the show that used to come on TV back in the 70s called the Doberman Game. And that piqued my interest. You fast forward a few years, I got into my first Doberman 11 and a half, 12 years ago. And of course, in this game, when you're trying to buy a specific breed, you don't know what you want, but you only know what you like, what you see. You don't know the interior, you know the exterior. And so my first dog I got was a big, beautiful dog, but he had no prey drive, no ball drive, no rag drive. Hell, he didn't even want to drive. You know, and I learned from my first dog on what not to have on my second dog. And I know I wanted a dog that could work, that could protect, but can take pressure. Because anything that's expected is always going to be unexpected. I started doing my research, and I said, well, let me go where the dog started from, which is out in Europe. So I started importing my dogs, and my first imported male was Alonzo from Hungary. And from day one, when he came out of the kennels, out of the crate, from when I imported him by way of Budapest, he was on fire. And that was new to me. I didn't have to teach him how to retrieve the ball. I didn't have to teach him how to bark for the rag. And it was just love at first sight. And they're good house dogs because they're short-haired, but they do require a lot of attention because they are part greyhound. And people always say that I walk my dog 4 miles a day. I said, well, your walking is sleep for them. They need to run. And so this dog got me outside. My first dog, Alonzo, got me out of depression because I had to go outside to walk him. And so from that point on, I was like, you know what? You know, people come and go, but your dogs will be your friends forever.
Talk to me about growing up in Mississippi and what dog breeds were around you, and how did you first started getting involved with dogs and your love for dogs. How did that start to develop in foster?
Watching Old Yeller. That's how it started. Lassie, of course, was a black and white TV show. So that's early 70s. But how it started for me, growing up in Mississippi, of course, it's a black and white state. You know, you got black people and you got white people. Well, the white people had the best Labrador retrievers. And I'm talking about the black ones, the thick tails, the chocolate ones. You throw a damn stick in the lake, they go halfway across the lake, and I love to swim. That drew my attention. So my love, my affinity for animals started when I saw that they did the stuff that makes me happy. Just watching them. I was never fortunate enough to own a dog in the 90s, only because my parents, more or less my grandmother, she would not let us have dogs, period, because she said she had enough two-legged dogs in the house. So it was always, I got to clean up behind you, and I got to clean up behind the dog. No way, you know. So I was able to get a dog, but when I was in college, but the dog had to stay at my aunt's house.
What kind of dog was it?
It was a Labrador, black lab, and he got out of the backyard, of course, no training, and a car hit him. So that was the end of my short experience being a dog owner from a distance from somebody else's house. When you're in college and you have a limited source of income, you don't have the option to pick of the litters, even though your pick may not be their pick. Of course, the name of the dog was typical, Duke. I think Duke and Bruce.
Yeah.
And Cookie or Fifi was the common names, right?
Yeah.
So I chose Duke because Duke is a strong name. Didn't do the research on what it stood for. But because my house that I lived in Jackson had a lake by it, a private lake. Didn't matter if it was private or not, we still went to the lake because one of our neighbors owned the lake. And he did things that I saw on TV. Like I threw a piece of tree bark in the water. And without giving commands or anything, he jumped right in. Didn't even know if there was water moccasins or pythons, whatever the hell the reptiles that will kill your dog. He jumped right in, courageous, and to me I was hooked. And it kept me outside, but at the same time, my grandmother realized that I was feeding all the bologna meat that we had in the refrigerator to the dog. So she really got pissed, like, boy, people in Ethiopia are starving, because that's what they had, the famine, the famine is starving, in Ethiopia. So she got mad about that, and so I couldn't bring the dog to my house no more. I had to stay over there at my aunt's house. And when I go visit it, you fast forward about a year and a half later, I'm in college. I got a girlfriend or girlfriends, and so I only take them over there to see the dog. Well, that's a little bit of a distance drive, and plus we worried about gas money.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunity to really continue a bond with Duke ended abruptly because he did get hit by a car, and he wasn't secured enough in the backyard. In the late 80s and up to the mid 90s, let's take a step back. I've always owned an encyclopedia in my household. I think we all had encyclopedias in Webster dictionaries, right? It was there when we was born. Like they must have knew we were going to read these books, right?
Indeed.
Or try to.
Indeed.
Right, and I'll always get the letter D encyclopedia because it had the dogs. So I will look at all the dogs, learn all the breeds, but more importantly, the colors. The one dog, I wasn't too much hyped up on the Rottie because of the movie Cujo. Even though that was American Rottweiler, now that I look back at it. I wasn't too hyped up at that time on the Doberman, but I love the sleek, the stealth look, but the markings were super high yellow. They were tan. Europeans' markings are mahogany. But I did love the fact that a dog that had some of the similarities, but at the same time, some of the differences was a Gordon Setter. And I love how the beautiful hair it had, the markings, the nice round head, which also had me to start falling in love with the Irish Setter. And then I started looking at the Beauceron. All these dogs were intriguing because they were either sport or working dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Not herding, but sport or working dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always kept in the back of my mind, when I get a place with an actual backyard, considering we're in California, having a backyard is a premium, is that I was going to get a dog that want to work, because I want to stay active. And I thought about the Rottweiler, but the problem was with the Rottweiler, I didn't know a reputable breeder. I didn't know what I'm looking for as far as the intangibles. I knew what I wanted as far as the tangibles, the size, the head. I wanted his tail to be on, but I didn't know what type of temperament that would suit me for what I wanted it to do. So that's why I got into the Dobermans, because the breeder who I talked to told me, oh, my dogs are protection. So all of her photos were dogs with harnesses on, prong collars, 12 leashes, doing bite work. And to me, as men are with visual, you pop a picture up, you take it 50 times to put the right one up there, we're gonna be blown away. We ain't gotta talk to you. Like, yo, where to send the money? Mm-hmm. So that's how it started for me. I used to like the Rottweilers with the tail dot. But knowing I seen Dale's dog, I seen other people's Rottweilers, to me, I don't know if it's a mental thing, but I think the tail gives the Rottweiler a lot more balance. This is just me. If it's thick and it's not too curly and it has a little bit of a curve, I like the tail on a Rottweiler, especially an athletic Rottweiler. It's like their rudder, right? When it comes to the Doberman, here in the United States, we have become so programmed where it's inhumane to dock the tail, crop the ears, or remove the dew claws. I can say the same thing about circumcision. You know, it doesn't really serve a purpose as a baby, but they do it because it's traditional, the aesthetics of it, hygiene aspects to it. And I don't see that with the Doberman. In certain parts of Eastern Europe, they have banded cropping and tail docking, where some of the breeders have to go to other parts of Europe to get that aesthetics done to the dog. I personally don't like the tail on the Doberman only because they start looking like coonhounds. Now, I can take the aspect of a dog ears not cropped, but your head gotta be big. That's the difference. And that's what you find out when you look at some of the Dobermans here in the United States. They're part American, they're part Euro, and if they're part American, they just look like basic deers, right? So for me, for right now, tails docked, ears cropped, and I want the dew claws on, because the dew claws help them grab when they're doing protection work. That's what they're designed for. There's not a huge difference when you're talking about European Dobermans. Certain parts of Europe, Eastern Europe or Northern Europe, when you're dealing with like Serbia, you have a vast majority of breeders that breed for a certain thing. That certain thing may be the pigments in their markings. That certain thing maybe they want height. You know, because over there in Europe, any dog that's over 30 inches to the wither is considered oversized, and they don't show those. They won't compete because they can't compete for a ZTP title that has a certain height requirement that they're only going to meet. In America, we take that as a trophy. So when you look at the different types of Dobermans from different regions of Europe, I tend to stay out of Serbia because they have more show line in their pedigree than working line, and I need that genetic DNA to want to work. Now, when we get to just getting Dobermans from Russia, France, Serbia, Hungary, there has been a lot of garrulous chatting about dogs from France are a lot thinner but taller. Dogs from Serbia are taller and darker, and dogs from Russia are short but thicker. I can't definitively say that that's accurate or not, but what I can tell you is that the breeders that I deal with, they know what I like and they know what I won't take. So when you do your research, and if you're wanting a certain dog to potentially, and remember, none of this is guaranteed. These dogs can be busts, or they can be a champ. But when you're doing your research, you want to have more of what you're looking for in a pedigree and less of what you're not looking for. Because over there in Europe, they believe in having a dog that has show titles, but also working titles.
Gotcha.
And of course, the rules are different over in Europe than they are here in the United States. Case in point, FCI is compared to our AKC. In FCI, you cannot be a breeder and breed dogs without the dogs having some kind of title. That's why you see a lot of these dogs have these puppy titles, these little best of show at 6 months age, because they got a title now they can breed. Here in America, AKC doesn't require you to have any titles on any of the parents. Now, what I do like, and what is very similar and familiar with the European line, depending on what you're looking for, it's a lot of line breeding. Not inbreeding, but line breeding. There's a huge difference between line breeding and inbreeding. Line breeding is when you're going to breed, and you may dislike it or like it, where you can breed father and daughter. You can breed daughter and son, grandfather, daughter. But it depends on what you're trying to breed for. If you're trying to breed for size, then you breed the biggest offspring to the biggest parent. Now you're going to genetically have more of a sizable type puppy in most of the litter. A lot of breeders in Europe, they breed for pigmentation. Like some of my dogs that I've had in the past, like Alonzo, the markings are so dark on their chest, it was basically black almost. But he had mahogany markings down here. Some of his offsprings were the same way. Like today when you saw Barry Manilow. The mother's super dark, they bred for that pigmentation and that size. When you're doing inbreeding, which is not allowed here in the United States, nor I don't think it's allowed in other countries, is when you're breeding brother and sister from the same litter. You can breed brother and sister from different litters with the same parents, but you cannot breed brother and sister born in the same litter. So if you have a litter with the same parents a year ago, and them same parents breed again a year later, those puppies can breed from those different litters. That's called line breeding too. Now, I don't generally do that because that's a little bit getting too close to the fire, but AKC allows that. That's why it's done. That's if you're breeding for a specific particular thing, whether it's the temperament or the looks.
You've had a love for the darker dog, period, going way back in the day. And that's something that we have in common, and that's what ultimately connected us.
Right.
So just tell the story, because you and I have been planning to get together and do this for a while, and we're here now of you coming across Batman on YouTube and all that good stuff.
I'm an avid animal lover, first of all, and I always like watching. In your case, your videos wasn't homemade; they're professionally done, right? They're not done with a cell phone like other kennels that I've seen. And so I love the fact how you promoted and you optimized Batman, but we had that bond. The one or two things that we had in common instantly, and that was the European imported, right? But then dark markings and a nice size. And I was like, he looked for that particular type of dog. It's not like he got it as, oh shit, he's darker. No, this is what you wanted. So now he knew what he wanted, he paid for what he wanted, and he got what he wanted. And for me, it was the same thing. I was like, wow, now we got something in common. We got different types of breeds, but we got a canine. So to me, it was a match made in Carson, And
nice.
and my thing is that this is a great analogy. When you have kids, right? I think most of us are parents in some kind of way. We don't pick and choose the complexion, the hair texture, the eyes, the height. We are given what God gives us. This is it, right? We can't change it, right? We can keep trying again, and maybe after 7 kids, one's gonna come up half of what you want, right? But with animals, you pick and choose what color, what size, how tall, what breed. So when you take your time and do your research, and when you reach out to these breeders, understand they're getting a barrage of bullshit calls, emails, spoofs, texts, and you have to show that you're a little bit different from them. Like, yo, I'm a serious buyer. Here's my number. That's WhatsApp. That's FaceTime. And now they know that you're about to put your money where your mouth is, because you know that when you're getting a dog from overseas, one thing that should not be an issue is how much it's going to cost. That's it. And when you tell people how much you pay for your dog, when they do ask, as if it really matters. Oh no, but see, there's a difference between a well-bred animal than a dog that was just put together with another dog and say, let's make some money. These people planned this pregnancy. This wasn't an accidental pregnancy. They matched this up. So I pay a little bit more to import an animal. All I'm paying extra is the shipping, because what they're charging over there is the same what most of these breeders here in the United States are charging with grandparents that are champions. You know, they always say, oh, he's got champion lines. His great-great-grandfather. Yeah, my great-great-grandfather was a Frenchman. I don't look like him. I'm Creole, but I'm not. Probably if I'm Fouché, my first language is not French.
Right.
You know, so I want to know what the parents are doing. And that's why I appreciate the European breeders. Their parents are doing the thing. They are putting it on paper. They are getting the titles. They are making the puppies. It's not their great-grand offspring, because when you start going third and fourth generation, dog is washed up. You gotta know what the parents are doing, the mama and the daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a total of, well, right now what I have in stock right now is Sigmund, who's imported from St. Petersburg, Russia, out of a kennel called Sant Krill. I got another dog named Casanova, who's 5.5 months, super dominant dog. So protection sport is going to be the only thing he goes for. But Sigmund is going for his IGP1. They used to call it IPO. Before IPO, they called it Schitzen. So he's training for his IGP1. That's why he's not here a lot of times. Casanova is from St. Petersburg, Russia, from a kennel called Via Felicium. Very small breeder. She barely checks her emails. I don't even know if they have Wi-Fi, but people be waiting in line for her stuff when she do have a breeding. That kind of breeder, where she has it a little twice a year, but she got hundreds of people waiting, because she DNA matched them perfectly. And then I got another puppy just came in from France. He's from a kennel called Of the Devil Inside Kennels. His parents are IGP2 titled dogs. I was supposed to go to France this past September to the Seeger show, which is big time over there. But when I was checking the flights and checking with the travel agent, they were talking about I have to be locked up in a hotel for 14 days. The hotel takes my passport. I got to quarantine. I can't be gone that long. So luckily they canceled the show. But more importantly, I didn't go. So those are my dogs right now. What I do, because I'm always working, I'm always gone, I provide a stud service, and that's something unique. There are not too many guys that have a barrage of qualified males that you can pick from. Like, imagine a guy going into a massage parlor and say, I want that one to give me a massage. So I wanted my type of setup to be, if you don't like this dog because it's too tall, I get it. If you don't like this dog because he's too dark, I get it. If you don't like this dog because he's short and thick, I get it. So that means if you don't like none of my dogs, then obviously you don't want to breed to a Doberman period, because each one of them have a physical characteristic difference. So my thing is to provide a foundation to people who are looking for qualified stud dogs. My stud dogs go through a series of health tests. When they turn 2 years old, they get their hips and elbows OFA certified. I don't waste my money getting hips pre-certified because they're still growing. European dogs, as you know, especially males, mentally they don't mature until they're 3, but physically they only stop growing until they're 18, 19 months. And sometimes they still growing, limping and shit because of pano, right? So I don't waste my time getting those done until they're 2 years of age. But the blood work, the genetic, they've been tested for BWD, DCM1, DCM2, DM, degenerative myopathy, cardiomyopathy, all that stuff. And I get that done through a site called VetGen. And what I try to do is provide a quality stud dog. So like I'm bringing the best I have for you. The rest is up to you to make sure your female is what she is to produce what you're looking for. And it's been pretty good. I've shipped out semen chilled, not frozen, out of state, out of the country. I have people drive hours sometimes from out of state to do a live cover, which is doing a physical breeding. So I've had maybe, among all my dogs, Alonzo and Brody, those are very well-known dogs who put me on the map. I probably had maybe 300 and something litters over a 10-year period. And of that 300 litters, some have been repeat breedings and some of their offsprings have had puppies. So a lot of these kennels have used, have started their foundation with the female and or male with some of my bloodlines. And the reason why my bloodline, I'm not gonna say my bloodline, the bloodlines that I bought from overseas are so unique because not everybody got it. Everybody has Altobello. Everybody has Del Nasi. Everybody has a lot of the big time breeders. But again, at the crux of my statement, I said, some of the breeders I deal with have 1 or 2 litters a year, and you can only talk to them via WhatsApp. And they're 9 hours ahead, so you better be woke when they're up. You see what I'm saying? And they're not gonna talk no English. You can reach me by Instagram at European_Doberman_stud, or go on Facebook. I have a page specifically for the dogs. It's called European Doberman Stud, or they have their own website, EuropeanDobermanStud.com, and you can contact me there, but only serious inquiries only, please. I get an influx of messages all day long about something or nothing. And if you're looking for puppies, I guide you in the right direction. If I don't have a litter that I provide a stud service for, but I love the animals first, and I always say, if you guys follow me and watch my live blogs, I always say at the end of my my diatribe of topics, if you ain't got no working lines, you're wasting your time. Cut the camera off.